Yeah, Comics.
We're going live with Chili Bowl in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about Chris
Handball
Jeruso has an appearance tomorrow.
and handball,
And he'll
which
go
no one,
playing handball.
which no one but me has ever heard of.
I have a vague idea about it. not a solid idea. Probably, I remember finding out about handball like 10 years ago, and I've since forgotten all about it. or the European variety of handball.
Yeah. Okay.
Not,
So the goalie has an area that none of the players can get into, neither the attack nor the defense. So the defense create there are six to six plus the goalie. So they create the defense creates a wall around the defense area, and the attackers have to find a hole in that wall to score a goal. But they have only 1 minute to do it. Otherwise, they have to give the ball back.
They got a shot clock.
Mm-hmm.
Chris will be at Oh Yeah Comics in Harrison, New York from 1 to 3 tomorrow.
So go there and say hi.
Go there and say hi. We probably won't see him here tonight because
spend money on him too.
Yeah, you can buy original.
Give him
money. Give him money for stuff. Money for stuff.
Stuff is always good. Money's even better.
Yeah.
So, Oh Yeah Comics was founded by Franco. I'll butcher the last name. Aleriana and Art Baltazar, who I believe is a comic book artist.
I think isn't Franco a comic book artist? I know Chris has a friend named Franco who does comics. That must be him.
Yes. So both of them does comic books, and then they have another person named Mark Harriman. So they're all together in creating this for Oh Yeah Comics.
Okay.
I happen to be on their website.
There you go.
Here are the names.
There we go. Founded. I think Franco only goes by Franco.
Right.
Mark Harmon. Oh Yeah Comics celebrates promotes everything that's wonderful about comics, toys, artwork, and the joy they bring to people. Dun, dun, dun. Here's some joy for you.
Joy for everyone.
But not too much joy will arrest you.
If you're from New York City and you have an event in Westchester, you don't have to spend the night there, right?
No.
You
just get right on the train. Train takes no more than an hour from most places in Westchester.
All right. Because I imagine that place is not cheap.
No,
I would guess not.
In my horrible commuting day in December, I took the train from Tarrytown, which is Westchester. That took about 40 minutes, I think. So.
Do you think there are a lot of clueless nerds who go around looking for Gray Malkin Lane?
What? What is Gray Malkin Lane?
Well, you don't remember because this guy named Xavier made you forget.
Ah, okay. Oh, is that where?
That's where the mansion is supposed to be.
The Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters is?
Yeah.
Gray Malkin Lane?
Yeah, but apparently, I think Gray Malkin Lane does not exist. It's like people going around London looking for 220B Baker Street.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
Right.
But Bleecker Street does.
But does number 177B exist?
I don't know. I never looked.
Bleecker Street.
I did just read an article about the people who live in the Breaking Bad home just had to sell the house and move out because too many people were showing up to their house all the time.
Yes. Right. And trying to throw pizza pies on their roofs.
So, yeah, isn't that pleasant?
Mm-hmm. See, they went the wrong route about it. What he should have been doing was selling pizzas right on the corner, a rubber pizza that you could throw yourself and then take pictures. But
not everyone's as entrepreneurial as you are, you know.
I guess so. I'm always trying to look for the con in the in the project, you know.
Most people have no imagination. No imagination, I tell you. None whatsoever.
So Diamond is bankrupt.
Right. The
The
big comic news this week, Diamond files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Right. So I guess that only means comics are now dead. It's finished. It's done. What are we going to talk about now? You know, comics we used to get.
They better get me my issue of Nexus undamaged.
That's right.
My LCS Roy Holmes was just talking about how he's Diamond is the out of the three, what is it, Lunar, Diamond, and
Random House. I don't know if
Random
they have
House, or is it Penguin?
Name. It is It's Penguin Random House. They're all together.
Okay.
Just, one owns the other, and I don't know what the last I read. It was Random House Penguin or Penguin Random House. I forget. Let me look that up.
Either way, Diamond. The reason my book came in damaged because Diamond didn't ship it. I mean, didn't pack it well enough, which happens a lot with them. And Roy has even been on the phone with them. You know, again, he's been a customer for decades. Going, listen, just put the box inside a box. Charge my account $10 extra. I don't care. Just get me the comics undamaged. There's not even like a lot of comics,
right,
that he's getting from Diamond, because he gets them from Lunar and Penguin too. But he's just like that. That's his biggest problem with Diamond is how many comics come in damaged. And they're of course a lot of the small press stuff that I get. So, you know, that's why my Betty facsimile edition was damaged. And that's why now Nexus Scourge issue 2 is damaged. I'm just like, how annoying. And it's just, you know, bent corners and stuff because the box gets crushed. And they, they usually credit him right away, but he'd rather it not happen.
Yeah, I've seen, you know, even going back to working in the comic book shop back when we had 3 distributors, 3 major ones, you know,
Capital.
Heroes World, Capital, and Diamond. Yeah. You know, there were times where we would get a box of comics and they would send a full box that would have maybe 25 comics in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I get it. You know, we're just one little store.
Right.
There's only so many books are bought, and they're dealing with warehouses of stuff.
Right.
But again, there's got to be a better way. I mean, they're still packing it like you would get like an Amazon package, where you would get something the size of a size of a toy get put into a big box, and it's insane. So, you know, Diamond's been doing it for so long, and there's still damaged books coming in. I just don't understand that.
Consistently. If it was a damaged book every once in a while, it'd be okay.
Right, but I always read stories about people saying that their box. And what's weird too, there would be like a week where everybody's books are damaged, not just, you know, one shipment, one store. Every store is talking about their damaged books, and it's like, is it being damaged at the warehouse? Are they just upset, smashing books there? I don't know.
My favorite is when, like,
I know I have a bunch of holes in my collection because Diamond forgot to ship some comics to Europe.
I can believe that. Because over the years, they've forgot to ship, like, small press books to my comic shop.
I'm talking Marvel and DC.
Yeah,
they didn't have extras.
That's why I believe if they can forget like small press books all the time, of course they're going to forget Europe. That's all the way an ocean away.
Mm-hmm.
And then what used to peeve me when I was getting comics, so there was a comic book shop in Westchester called the Phoenix of Westchester, and that kind of became the weekly comic stop. And so one day I'm going through the catalog and I saw a couple of things that I like that are non-comic book stuff, toys or something or another. I forget what it was now. And at one point I dislike when the catalog says ask for price.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's going to be too much. And it's like, because that means the store has to do its own math. And then, I just tell me the price of this thing. And then I would order something. And I had ordered it. I almost want to say it was a Batmobile, a large size Batmobile at the time. And it was like, okay, how much is it going to be? I would like to order this, but I need to know the price. It's like, okay, we'll get back to you with the price. I forget what it was, but I don't think it was outrageous. So I remember saying, all right, order it for me. And it never showed up. And it was like, what happened to what I ordered? Now, luckily, I didn't pay any money into it.
Right.
It was one of those things. Yeah, order that for me. When it comes in, I'll pay for it. Only to be told, oh, yeah, well, sometimes we'll order something from Diamond and it just will never show up. And it's like, oh, why didn't you tell me this before? I would have gone looking for this item somewhere else. Of course, I want to give the store the business. I saw it in the store, in the catalog that the store gave me, talked to me about it, kind of in a sense convinced me to get it. And it's like, yeah, sometimes Diamond doesn't send anything. It's like, and you're okay.
We don't know what to tell you.
You're all right with that. You just lost this particular sale.
Well, there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And then it's one of those things.
All they can do is order it.
That's insane. And
doesn't sound like any way to run a business, right?
It doesn't.
Diamond, that is.
It doesn't. And we've been dealing with that for years. Now, I know people who work for Diamond, great bunch of people. Yeah. But again, there's this thing where it's like, for years since the three distributors and the debacle that Marvel created with that, Diamond had to buy the other company,
right? Because
of the whole deal messing up. And it could have been interesting and it could have been great, Marvel owning that distributor, but that just went downhill real fast.
Yeah. And that one thing about Diamond too, I read one little blurb about it that said they never really modernized. Now, I don't really know what that means in terms of a distribution of comics, but I do know that their website has always had complaints about it. And have you ever gone on their previews website? It's like taking a trip back to 2004.
I'm pretty sure I have. I know that I'm on their mailing list, but I don't go there. I think I tried to navigate it once and it was
exactly.
Like, no, I just can't stand it. The whole thing that, you could get their catalog as a PDF, and it's like, that's fine. I'd rather hold a physical one, but I won't buy one. No. Because I used to get one for free at my other comic book shop. I had a pull list, so I would get the Diamond's catalog for free, and I could get the Marvel catalog for free. I could get DC's catalog for free, IDW catalog for free. I'm not going to pay for a catalog to pay more stuff into it. Right. And people said, "Oh, well, you could get the PDF." And it's like, I'll never look at it. I'll never read it. If I have the physical catalog, I'll go through it at least once before I toss it out. If it says a PDF and I have to go get it and download it, I'm not going to do that. And I didn't. And as you mentioned, I've been to the website years ago to get onto the mailing list, and I never been back.
It is so hard to navigate. It's a pain in the neck to find something. Right. You want to find out something. It's always like, I haven't been to it in a while either. Have you ever been to the previews website, Paolo?
I haven't been to the previews website in like forever.
Exactly.
I never quite understood.
Everybody, that's the theme.
But here's the thing. I used to check what was coming out in 3 or 4 months. In 3 months from from an online store. I can't remember which one it was because once they redesigned their website, it was impossible to go through. I could go through the whole of the previous catalog, and with the redesign, I couldn't because they required you to sign up for the website to view adult items, and it blocked some things from the regular comics listing. And I started doing that, and I did that for years, from like 2003 to 2012. I did it because it was impossible to do anything with the Diamond website, and it never, for the life of me, could I understand why don't you just have the listing on PDF here? You don't need to sell these things. It's a catalog,
right?
You can't have the PDF. You can have a 270-page PDF here. Even in 2003, when the internet was slow, you had some time to go through it at home. You could download it, no problem. But they didn't do that.
No.
So
they made it hard to find anything.
Yeah, ridiculous. And the stupid thing was when the pandemic hit and they couldn't ship comics, and DC used that to get out of the contract. I think the majors wanted to get out of the contract for years,
right?
And they could figure out a way to do that and switch distributors quickly,
right?
Probably because you couldn't.
Probably because there weren't really distributors.
Yeah,
the Switch did.
Yeah, but the thing is, if the comics aren't being shipped, you can't take the time to find a new distributor.
Right.
Because those distributors are mainstream distributors.
Right.
So they're still going on. They're still moving stuff. But at the time, we were going on 25 years of monopoly. And the first thing that people did was complain, well, why are you leaving Diamond? You can't do that. And I'm like, why not? This is exactly what the comics industry needs: a kick in the ass. Get rid of the dead weight. At least Diamond can try to improve, and they didn't. And that's why in 2 years, all of the majors had left, and a bunch of indies had left, and the only ones that didn't leave were the ones that Lunar and Penguin Random House weren't interested in, because they sell like 25 copies of their comic. They're not going to distribute 25 copies.
Right.
But everyone else who could make the money, they hopped on board.
Well, that's why I was upset, was because I'm the one who buys the 25 comics that are distributed. I knew the Lunar and Penguin wouldn't want to distribute comics to me.
So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm not surprised that it's happened. I'm sure this is a result from the pandemic, or at least partially part of it. I would imagine so.
Well, as he said, the pandemic let the Marvel and DC out of their contracts.
Yeah. So, you have all those things. But I think also it was that, I don't know how much of this is true, but I remember Red Anvil Press was saying that they couldn't pay us freelancers because they didn't get paid from Diamond. Right. And that was because Diamond had to shut down during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how true that really is, because Red Anvil's Press's money for the books I was working on came from a Kickstarter. So that money should have been sitting in the bank somewhere. Right. So, again, who knows? They're not around anymore. So again, it's one of those things where it is scary and quite sad how fragile the network is for comics to be stalled or stopped really easily. And I'm hoping, we've seen other companies come out of chapter 11. Marvel made a great comeback
right now for Diamond.
Exactly. And they have plenty of things that they could sell, from what I understand.
Yeah, they're selling other departments.
Right.
Selling some toy distributor in England.
Yeah, the thing is, right now England is the worst place to serve as a hub to distribute
Oh
across
yeah,
Europe.
that's right.
The best place to distribute across Europe right now is either San Sebastian, Spain, or Rotterdam, Netherlands.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
how do we get our comics there then?
I
No,
was
because of
also
the both the shipping lanes and the trains. You if you cross the Atlantic, because the Diamond used to ship the comics to Europe by boat. We got the comics 2 weeks later. Um, you either you can go to San Sebastian, Spain, and from there you cross the Pyrenees into the rest of Europe, or you go to Rotterdam, which is the biggest commercial harbor in Europe. So from there you can get anywhere in Europe. So that's how you could. But the UK needs their own stuff, even if it's smaller.
Right.
But I imagine that the UK makes up way more than a quarter of Diamond's European sales, because the Brits don't need a local publisher to put out anything in English. You just import it from the United States. And in other countries, there may be some resistance to reading in English. So it's only the specialized readers who want the things now in the original language. It's natural for the British, but not for the rest of Europe.
right. Yeah, one line I read about Diamond too that I hadn't thought about was someone was saying they're going to have to come out of this on their own. It's unlikely that there would be a buyer for Diamond because distributing comics is too little money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it could be somebody in comics who could decide, I've always wanted to get into distributing comics.
Yeah.
Said no one ever. Said no one ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need it. I mean, what do they have? They don't have contracts with publishers, so they don't have stock because they're trying to get rid of it. They need to get rid of it to pay creditors. So they have nothing. It's just a warehouse.
Yeah, Diamond doesn't even have like trucks.
They don't?
No, I think everything goes via UPS or FedEx.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I think that is why they won their monopoly case in the late 90s. The judge said they're not a monopoly because they're not a distributor. They're a holding company. They're a warehouse.
I see.
So I think I don't even think they have. They have no trucks. They got no assets. They have warehouses, and
they don't have as many as they used to, because I do recall them closing one of the warehouses.
They closed. I was reading about one in New York, somewhere in New York State. I forget where. Was that them? Was that somebody? I can't remember. Maybe been them. That was one of the big blows to them. They had to close that warehouse. That impacted their business a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they don't. It's the UPS man who delivers the comics to my local comic shop. And I know because there have been occasional weeks once every few years where like UPS loses the entire East Coast's comic orders. I mean, it's rare, but it's happened. We're like, there's no comics this week. No comics this week on the whole Northeast because UPS lost them all. What? I mean, they're somewhere. They eventually found them.
Right.
But they lost them when they had to go out. So, yeah, Diamond distributors don't even actually do the distributing.
Right. When you describe it that way, they don't.
Yeah. Which is why they won their case.
Right. The only thing they do is take orders.
Right.
So they can be considered a hub, but they don't do the distributing themselves.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone can actually buy them except for a larger company that may want to dip into comics, but they'll see there's no money there. So
Yeah.
Right.
that
No
is,
Marvel, no DC.
yeah.
Good evening, Missing
evening.
Mars.
What's up?
Good evening, Comic Crack. R.I.P. David Lynch. Yes.
Yeah.
And R.I.P. Diamond. Yeah. Well, they're still alive. They're just
Yes,
in chapter
yeah.
11. They're not. I'm not dead yet. We're just trying to figure. Will they be here next year? That's the big question. In 2020, in January 2026, will Diamond still be around? I don't know. Because as I learned reading Comic Wars about Marvel's bankruptcy, most bankruptcies only last a few months. Most Chapter 11 bankruptcies only last 2 to 3 months. Marvel's was historic because it lasted 20 months, I think they said. So it's like bankruptcies usually don't last.
General Motors officially lasted about 5.5 years, although in 2 years they were in business.
Yeah.
The thing is, if big companies go into Chapter 11, it's actually easier to do a restructuring plan for them to survive, because they have a lot of assets.
Right.
You can they can continue to operate normally, and they can be led into profitability because they have brand name, they have access to sales channels. It's easier for smaller companies. If you go into Chapter 11,
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Evening, Eric P. Yeah. At least Diamond can keep on going as long as they have employees. Because like I said, they don't actually distribute the comics. UPS does that for them. So that's why they can actually keep going for a little while.
Right. But if they're in Chapter 11, I don't think they can continue paying UPS to transport the
UPS
comics.
Won't give them any credit.
Right.
They'll have to pay cash on the barrelhead for that, probably. Mm-hmm. Who knows if they will or not? Because if you owe a company money in bankruptcy, they don't really want to extend you more credit.
Yeah, and if you're in the distribution business and you can't pay the actual shipper, if you go into Chapter 11, most likely the actual shipper is one of your creditors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tit Goblin is here too. Comic Days here or whenever they show up. DC usually shows up on Thursdays. Image randomly in the week, and Marvel Wednesday. Independent manga just show up. Everything shows up FedEx every day. Wow.
Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. The biggest problem is nowadays a lot of shops only only fill out pre-orders. So if you can't get a comic when it comes out, tough luck. But the idea that different publishers would put out comics on different days is not necessarily bad, because you'd go to the comic shop when you could. The thing is, it is because of Diamond. You know that if you don't go in that specific day, you won't find any comics unless you pre-order them.
Right.
Once again, Diamond messing it up for everybody.
I can remember going to the newsstand on Thursday afternoons looking for the new comics. That's when the newsstand distributor delivered comics around me, was Thursday afternoons.
Yeah, but if you went looking for that comic 2 weeks later, you could, because it was a newsstand.
Right.
Yeah, I had to hit. I had like maybe 3 major stands I would hit, because not everybody ordered the same things either.
No.
So it's like
they pretty much didn't care what they were ordering. I don't think they were just ordering.
I don't think so. There was at least 2 stores. One was directly around the corner from my place, and then one was up the block. And those I would definitely hit, at least those 2 stores. And depending where we were living, there would be like different places to hit, just to make sure that I got everyone, because there are only a few, maybe one out of the whole walking area that would have the books printed on the Baxter paper. Since that was a little more expensive, you had to really look for those. So it's
I
like
remember there was only one out of my 3 stores I went to, only one had Savage Sword of Conan.
right.
It's like, which was of course in the magazine section,
Mm-hmm.
but she had like a little comic magazine section. So that's where I'd find Savage Sword. Not at any of the other places.
Mm-hmm. And and if you were lucky, they would be some places that weren't really carrying weekly comics, but they occasionally just happen to have a box of comics that they got from somewhere, and you would visit the store. It was a stationery store, so it wasn't necessarily periodicals, but a stationery store that occasionally would just have comics. Don't know where they got them, just was like, you just knew to go to that store because they would be carrying stuff like Vigilante. And I don't know if they were getting new issues or if this was just somebody's back orders, but that was the only place I could find Vigilante books.
See, Tit Goblin's writing again. Each of my one shops orders differently. One is all independent and small press, and one is very Marvel and DC Pokemon cards. Then there's the collector slab store, and the others are D&D role-playing stores. Ah, okay. Yeah, there's only really... See, I don't actually know how many stores are in my area, because what is in my area? I've said this before. My comic shop is 20 minutes away. That's in my area. But New York City is not that far away from me. Is that it? I don't count New York City stores in my area. And even like the store Oh Yeah Comics that Chris is showing up to tomorrow in Harrison, New York. I think that's less than an hour from me. But I don't consider that in my area. But there are plenty of people who will drive an hour and hit up 3 comic shops. But that's like nothing I ever do. So I don't, if I were to drive an hour, I don't know how many stores I can actually hit because I never do that. But I know there's 2 comic stores. There's a Wizard, which I haven't been to in 15 years. But it's still there, I'm pretty sure. They also are a gaming place. Like he said, they do a lot of role-playing and Magic games. They got a big warehouse for that kind of. But I don't think there's any more that, like during the boom in the 90s, there were half a dozen stores within 20 minutes of me. Now it's like, but it's like, what would you consider a store that's close to you? Like,
the funny thing is that I do have a store that's about a mile away from me.
mm-hmm.
That's been there since I was a kid because I used to go into the store. Same owner and everything, but I never really considered it like a home store because I would only go into it when I was in that area once in a while. The other than that is for where I am in the Bronx, I know of 2 comic book shops. So it's that one, which is called Fordham Comics, and the other one, something Cave, but that one's too far away. That one's a trip to get to. That's at least a bus or 2. So that to me is out of the way. Where Midtown Comics for me is 20-minute ride into Manhattan, get off at Grand Central. The store's right there. I could jump back on the train and be home. And I find that easier than going to the place that's only a mile away. So yes, I do have one in my area, but I prefer to go to the one in Manhattan, and I think it's only because of there's more stuff. I make a trip out of it, so to speak, because not only do I hit the store since I'm in Manhattan, then it's like, oh, I could go to book off, I could hit a couple of little places, and then jump back and then come home. So for me, it's that one. Now there's been times where I make trips to like, oh, let me go visit a couple of stores in Manhattan, and I considered the whole island practically in my area because everything is about 20 to 40 minutes away by train. So I think the longest trip I have in Manhattan at the tip when I used to go to Tops was 45 minutes. to an hour.
But you wouldn't like consider, oh yeah, comics in your area, even though it probably would take you under an hour to get there, I would guess.
It probably would. Yeah, I could probably take the Metro North up there.
Yeah.
And get to it. I've never been to it. But there were shops in Westchester that's just as easy to get to. There was one
it's just weird what we consider in our area.
Yeah. So right over the next town over after the Bronx, it is Westchester, but it's Yonkers. And there used to be a store on the same, like I could get on on a bus that goes right to that area. The store is like 3 blocks. No, not even. It's the same block where the bus stop is. And it will be probably quicker when it was there. It's not there anymore. And it was called the Spider's Web. Real easy to get to. But again, it's like, I guess I didn't consider that my area, although it wouldn't take that long to get to. It would be, if I drove, there would be a 10-minute ride, if even, maybe 15 minutes. And again, it wasn't that long, it wasn't that far of a trip. When I was talking about the Phoenix of Westchester, that was a trip, but I would always get a ride. So it was different because it was a hangout type of thing with me and my buddy Eric, because we would go to the store. One of the owner of the stores was a friend of ours. So we would go to that store, pick up our books, and then play video games for the next few hours in the store. So we made a trip of it. And I considered that local because someone was driving me. And maybe the trip was maybe not even a half an hour to get there.
There was no effort on your part.
No effort on my part. So to me, that was local. And before the store moved to that portion of Westchester, it was even easier to get to when it was on that main road where I would take that same bus. So it was closer. And again, that was a trip that I could do my own because I knew I was going to get a ride home because we would all meet there. So it'd be that kind of a thing. But when I went to college, my local comic book shop was the one in the college in Dobbs Ferry, because that was local to me because I'm in the college every day. And that was just a walk. That was a mile walk into town from the college, and then hang out there for a few hours and then take the train home, take the bus home. So that was still kind of part of my commute. So I think I consider it that way. So, while you're working in Manhattan, those comic book shops were your local comic book shops. Because it was easy to go to Marvel and then walk over to Cosmic Comics or walk over to Jim Henley's Comics or Midtown Comics. You could go to lunchtime and still have a good 40 minutes of lunchtime. Type of thing. That becomes like, I would consider that local.
Tit Goblin says, I consider walking distance in my area or 20-minute driving if I drove. Yeah, you must be like Sleepy Reader has in where is he in Portland? I think he's in, I forget which area of he's in Portland, right? He said he's got like 3 comic shops within walking distance. I'm like, whoa, how many? I don't even think there's 3 comic shops within walking distance in Manhattan.
Not anymore.
No.
I mean, everything in Manhattan is walkable, but it's one of those things where it's like they used to be. There were plenty of times because I know just going to the Village, I could hit Forbidden Planet, Rogers Comics, and there was another one, Sleep of Reason. We're all within the same walkable mile area. There was at least 1 or 2 other ones that I never went into in Lower Manhattan in the Village.
If property values made it impossible to own a comic store in Manhattan, would Manhattanites go to Brooklyn to go to a comic shop?
No, there's no reason to go to Brooklyn. No, there is no. Comic books would have to be at least back to 50 cents for me to go from the Bronx to Brooklyn to get my comic book fix.
And good evening, Ian and Becca Comics.
Hello.
Yeah.
How's everyone having a good evening? We are having a good evening talking about comics. Missing
Always
Mars has
having
20
fun.
minutes to my LCS, but they
I
only
would
have
co-
new comics and the rest is card game playing thingy.
I used to
Aha.
commute when I was before I started working. I used to commute an hour to get to the comic shop, and I wasn't driving, so I had to take the either the bus or the train. But I was okay. The thing, my hometown is is on the boundary between on the boundary of the capital city's metropolitan area.
Mhm.
If I lived 15-minute car ride outside my hometown, I would not be a comic book reader.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the difference between being an intellectual who reads foreign magazines and a complete redneck. 15 minutes.
Missing Mars says, buy my comics online from Gotham City Comics and 2 claim sales from cheap comics collector and Psychotronic Squirt Gun. Okay, yeah, a lot of people buy them online these days because they don't have a shop near them.
Yeah.
Saying hello to Ian and Beth. Yeah, I like going to my shop and hang out with my friends. My friend Rob, who I've been going to the comic shop with since I was in high school. And we're friends with other people there and guys who run the store. Tit Goblin. I still can't figure out why, other than St. John's is on one of the oldest cities, and the hobby has been strong here since the 90s. Also, our long winters inside may add to home hobby entertainment. Yeah, it could be. You never know. And rents. I mean, rents in Manhattan probably mean not a lot. Only huge comic stores can survive.
Yeah. Or that for a while those stores were there for so long.
Yeah.
They're able to, like, I know Rogers Comics really it had to be an apartment building at some point because it's just the layout of the comic book shop. And but those shops were in the Village in the 90s where it wasn't it wasn't easy to walk through the Village because it wasn't all that safe. You wanted to be out of there before it got dark. So those shops were, a lot of them in the Village. It was, because I forget about St. Mark's Comics was also in the Village, and they're again all walkable to each other.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty storefronts in Manhattan just because landlords find it better to not rent if they don't get the rent they want than to rent out cheaply. Opponent of Stupidity. Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
Ian Back of Comics says, my goal for 2025
okay.
More trade paperbacks and less single issues. Sorry, going back in time. I can only tell you my experience with that, which was, but also I generally like comics as periodicals, unless they're distillery comics, as we discussed last week. Then there's no reason for them to be periodicals. But it was around like 2008, 2009, where there just weren't a lot of comics I was interested in. So I switched over to getting a bunch of, collected editions and stuff. And the problem I found with getting collected editions was mainly one problem. If you're going to try, because especially for me who likes to try out new things, and if you've got nothing regular to buy, you have to try new things. It's like either never buy a comic again or try a new thing. The problem with the collected editions was when you want to try out, a collected edition, instead of buying one issue, you're buying 5 or 6 issues. So I quickly, within a year, had half a shelf full of collected editions I didn't like. I mean, I found ones I liked too, but the build up. I mean, you have to find a way to get rid of them fast if you don't like them. And also the problem was, you can find some really cheap collected editions, like Trade paperbacks nobody wants are worth $5. But if you want to try out new things, you're like, great, I'll try that for $5. I'll try that for $5. I'll spend $20, get 5 collected editions or 4 collected editions, pardon me. But 3 of them you're not going to like. Now, instead of having 3 single issues there that you don't like, you have got the equivalent of 15 to 25 comics sitting there that you don't like, that you got to get rid of. So getting rid of the collected editions you don't like, I think, is crucial to buying more collected editions.
Well, in Europe, that's normal because everything's a graphic novel.
Yeah.
You end up spending $25 on a graphic novel that you don't like.
That's just normal.
Yeah, it is.
But they're thin.
Well, not anymore. The 48-page standard has been dismissed by a lot of authors. A lot of people are wanting to do 200-page graphic novels just because.
Just because of other manga is long and American comics are long, and they probably want to do more longer stuff to compete.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
But a 48-page graphic novel has as much storytelling as 96 pages of comics because of the bigger size.
Sometimes more, depending on how decompressed the story is.
Yeah, it's not really decompressed. The thing you can't do.
I mean, the 200-page one being decompressed.
Yeah. The thing in a 48-page standard, just the size of the paper means you can do 12 to 16 panels if you want to, and nobody wastes space on splash pages in the middle of the story. Nobody does pin-up pages.
Let me show you the first comic I got this week, because it's done by a Belgian artist, I think, who I don't know who he is. I must have. This is, matter of fact, speaking of low distribution, my comic shop owner told me I was the only one in the store who ordered this, which is Howl. I don't know why it's called Howl. Number 1. From Ahoy Comics, and it's by Alyssa Quitney, Kwitney.
Yeah,
and
she's and stuff.
And Morissette, Mauricet, who signs his name Mo, which looks like a Wally Wood signature with just the W and the O upside down. And he is, where they told us in here who he was, or where is Morissette? Is a Belgian artist cartoonist best known in the USA for his work on IDW's Star Wars Adventures, various titles at DC, including Dastardly and Muttley, Future Quest, and Harley Quinn. For Ahoy, he co-created Major Ursa and Tyrone Finch in the pages of Bronze Age book. Okay, they tell us nothing about what he did in Belgium.
Might not have done much, depending on how old he is. So let me see if I.
But his art is really nice. And it looks sort of European. Here, let me show you a little up close. And the reason I say it looks sort of European is that he really sets a scene. That is, I noticed, a tradition in European comics more than US comics.
Right. But I see a lot of stuff that could have appeared in a traditional newspaper strip.
Yeah.
In the 1960s.
Very nice. Matter of fact, I'm going to put this on my pull list because I enjoyed it. I couldn't even. I'm pretty sure I bought it just because I liked the artwork, because I saw it and I was like, "What is that about?" I have no idea.
Oh, this guy's old. The artist. Old? Oh yeah, he was born in 1967.
He's a year younger than me. No, he is old.
Yeah, but he's working with Alyssa Whitney. So Alain Morisset. Oh, if it's French and the last letter is a T, the T is silent.
Maurice. I should have known that
Maurice.
from my high school French, but you know.
Yeah. So
I was
let's
never
see. What
really
has the guy been doing? I think he started doing comics late in life. He was the oldest comic I see here was okay. So there's something here in 1993, which is a collection of 1993. Martin Lodewijk. Why was he working with Martin Lodewijk? Okay. He must have been an assistant back then. He provided colors for Wilbur Duquesnoy in the fifth Edmund Bell, which is a not very well-known series. His first graphic novel is Moi Raciste, in which he was the colorist, and seems to be a collection of strips. Le Rouleau de Cran, 1999. This is okay. Now he's drawing. Yeah, it's a one-shot graphic novel, 46 pages. Doesn't seem like much, but it does seem to have a it's an adventure story, but fantasy set in the world of the Arabian Nights, sort of. But he has a cartoonist style. So let me see Cosmic Patrouille. Okay, yeah. This is a parody. Mort de Trouille. Man, it's prolific anyway. Okay, seems to be his take on the Marceline school. Yeah, but yeah, he's prolific, and he can adapt to different genres, even if his style is a bit cartoony. He can do horror, he can do fantasy, he can do humor.
He's good, I can tell you that much. There's a nice shot of Village Cigars in 1957. He obviously, does his research too on how the apartments and stuff though, because this takes place in the late 50s. Matter of fact, I think there's some of it says it's 57 and some of it says it's 59. And I think it's supposed to be chapter 1 of Howl is called The Invasion. And I think it's supposed to be an alien invasion story. But
I have stuff he drew. He did the crossovers for CrossGen.
He did the crossovers for CrossGen?
Yeah, I remember there was a short-lived series called Crossovers.
I may have got the first issue of it. I'll have to look and see. He did that. Wow, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
But takes place in Greenwich Village. And like I said, I think it's kind of supposed to be like an invasion of the body snatchers type alien invasion story. But most of the first issue is slice of life. We're introduced to, the very beginning, we see these teeny tiny spaceship with spores being let out. So I think it's it's like an invasion of microscopic creatures. And it starts out with this that on that page with this psychiatrist, and she got the spores in her, and now one of her patients has the spores, and like it. I'm not quite sure. It makes them act different, but I'm not quite sure how different yet. But most of the book is about this woman right here, the younger one. That's her mother. And she is an early 20s, living in Greenwich Village in 1959, like striking it. It's kind of a, it reminds me a little bit of the what is it? The Magnificent Mrs. Maisel. Because that takes place in the same time period, except this is a younger woman who's got no kids. And she's got a boyfriend who's a sci-fi writer, who's just becoming a successful sci-fi writer. But he isn't, and she's a writer too, but she's working at a book publisher as a, hold on, let me get this in quotes, proofreader, but her boss is really having her rewrite a lot of the articles. But she can't get credit for it because she's a woman and they don't want to insult the writer too. So she's kind of in this weird job, but she's but so a lot of this first issue was slice of life, and it was really well done. Her and her apartment, and a matter of fact, in the back, the writer writes a little bit about the mythology of 1950s in America and how it was conformist, and he's like, it wasn't all conformity. There were beat poets and stuff like that going on too. So I think that's what he's tapping into because of the, Greenwich Village in the 1950s. So sort of at the very end, her boyfriend, the sci-fi writer, gets these spores take over him too. So I don't know where they're going from there, but the spores made him finish his book, which he couldn't finish because he was had trouble writing, was a bit of a bad boyfriend, and would disappear and break up with her and then get back together because he was all caught up in his writing and had a hard time. But the spores made him finish that book. So I don't know how bad they are. But
yeah, if it can make your deadlines.
Yeah. I have no idea why it's named Howl. Howl the Invasion would have probably been a better name for it. Issue 1, The Invasion. But really, the story was good. I loved the art. The art really set, like I said, it reminded me of like I said, a lot of European graphic album stuff I've seen. They're very good at setting the scene. Like Americans are so like superhero comics and influenced by Kirby, who really, Kirby, though he had great stuff all around you, he really wasn't setting the scene of a 1959 apartment in Greenwich Village. So it's like
John Byrne could do that, and so could Neil Adams when he wanted to.
There were guys who could do it, yes, no doubt.
Right. Neil Adams because of his time doing comic strips.
Right.
Yeah, but John Byrne was good at that. I've always found him to be good at setting up the scene, showing especially because of the time he spent working with Claremont, because Claremont loved those blocks of text explaining everything about the place where they were.
but like John Byrne's scenes were mostly, I would say, like superhero scenes, like lab, this, that. There was stuff. If American, like I said, if American superhero artists set a scene, it's a superhero. It's a hell carrier. It's a
sure, but it's that
building.
It's that thing. You before the comics went back to 22 pages of stories when they were only 17, you couldn't waste time. You knew that,
right?
So you had to be economic setting up a scene, but they could do it if they wanted to. Yes. And you didn't even need the writer to tell you to set up the scene. You know how to do that. And once again, but Europeans
guys never.
Europeans did that thing. It's the size thing.
I think you're right. But like I said, I really noticed it in this. I think that tradition is more European than American, and I really appreciated it here. Especially, it's an American scene he's setting of 1957 Greenwich Village, and does a really nice job. But like I said, it's going on my pull list now because I really enjoyed the first issue.
Well, another thing, Asterix doesn't set up the scene. I mean, the way he set up a scene is like the opening gambit on an 80s TV show.
And also,
because
the scene I'm talking about too is more of a real world scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like a specific time and place, even if that time and place is like now. Whenever now was for the artist. Like I think that's John Byrne could set up a mad scientist lab like no one's business.
Right, but in Europe you can probably do that. If you're doing a realistic style, you probably set up the scene. Right. If you're doing something that looks cartoony on purpose, you really don't. Going through the artists that I like. Okay, so Asterix doesn't really set up the scene. The set up the
No,
scene
no, it's a
is
different type of drawing.
yeah. So besides the scene usually started. Asterix is somebody who goes on who goes on adventures, and the first thing they're doing is not an adventure. They're in the Gaul village, so they're either having fun with
Having breakfast.
the Roman hunting wild boars,
Yeah.
which they will eat for breakfast.
Yes.
Because Asterix's sidekick Obelix can eat one entire boar for breakfast. But then something happens on page 3, and then the adventure starts. So the setup, the scene is not to set up so that you can understand the scene. But another thing is that Asterix is a series. So every comic, every graphic novel in the Asterix series starts basically the same way. They're doing something normal in the village, and then something happens. The Rib, there's this guy called a Swiss guy called the Rib, and he could do cartoony because he did a series about a young Native American boy called Yakari, but he also had a rough fur trapper western called Buddy Longway. And the two styles aren't very different because the storytelling is kind of the same. You just notice when he's drawing characters with big heads and when he's not. He was good at setting up the scene because I remember an old Yakari book that I used to have. The tribe is moving to their winter feeding grounds. So you see where they are and the near the river, but there are not hills around, and even the setup for what the story is going to be about happens in the first 2 pages. Because that particular story, I remember I was very impressed with the way the guy drew wolves. Because even though it's a cartoony story with a child as a protagonist, and it's adventures, nobody really gets hurt. But there are wolves in the stories that want to take all of the animals. The main character talks to animals, so all of the animals end up having some human characteristics, and the wolves are trying to get revenge on a member of Yakari's tribe, and that's the setup because the wolves keep showing up, and Yakari is the first to spot them, but only the guy that the wolves want to take revenge on is the only adult that the wolves interact with. And even so, but this is a cartoony series, but the wolves are so good. The forest, they look so good. The forest scenes are amazing, and the guy is very good at making sure you feel the environment all around you. So it kind of depends on the artist and what he wants and what the story is about.
That just reminded me too. The book I just got, Paranoid Gardens. Oh, who was the artist on that? His name just flew out of my head, but boy, did he set a scene in that book. I mean, he was the one I was saying, he was drawing the hell out of every page. It wasn't Chris Burnham, it was... Ah, crap, I can't remember his name. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, he could set a scene. I mean, that whole book was one big scene set that was really, really well done. Let me see, what is Ian and Becca say, but honestly, when you go to the shop and you get a $5 single issue, what do you do with it if you don't like it? All I'm saying is that takes up less room. So you can take a longer time to get rid of them. I actually just gave all mine away to my students last semester. I have what's called a done-in-one box, where that's where I had one box where I'd put all the stuff done in one, but I'm never buying another issue of this. And I just I teach college, so my college student teach art, so I brought them all into them and gave them away. That's actually what I did just this past semester. But yeah, all I'm saying, the trades you don't like build up a lot faster than comics. That's all. So just keep an eye out for that. Found the trades are easier to sell or pass off.
Yeah, the point is that, okay, you have a complete story here. You may not have liked it, but you can find somebody who does like it.
That's not as
easier to do
easy as
that.
you think.
Maybe, but it's okay. Here's an issue number one. Even if you like it, you have no way of now you have to
Right.
hunt down the rest of the issues. Nobody wants to do that.
But why the students liked that was they get a whole variety of stuff.
Mhm.
They can, I can give them 6 issues with 6 different styles. So
Sure.
that's why they in particular liked it.
Right, but
You're
you're
right,
giving
giving those
your
away,
students
Right.
the purpose that the students use the
Right.
comics for is different than the purpose that they were made for. So they can make use of them, but that's
Right.
not what the comics are there for, actually.
Now I'm the one who ended up taking in everybody's trades they didn't want and giving them away, and selling them. Oh, that was the worst thing I ever did. Trying to sell them on eBay. Holy cow!
$1.
And people who are buying a trade for $5 are the picky, because they're the ones looking for something for nothing. They're like, oh, you get all the complaints from people who are buying the cheapest stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, leave me alone. I'm not making any money off of this. That's why I just stopped. There's no reason to sell $5 trades on eBay. I tried like bundling them and doing all sorts of stuff, but it was too much of a pain. I just sent extra ones in the package. Comic Crack says, Paulo, I got the Vagabond of Limbo in the mail the other day by Goddard and Ribera. Thanks for the recommendation a couple of months back.
Cool.
It looks great. All right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear, Terrence. I thought you'd like it. I mean, it's a little bit out there, but the type of science fiction that they do, which really doesn't make any sense, is appropriate for the kind of things given the kind of things that you like. It's a classic science fiction series from France, The Vagabond of Limbo.
Yeah, Comic Crack says trades are notoriously difficult to trade or sell off around here. Even $5 won't guarantee your sale. Yeah, it's like it's crazy. An alien head. Great show. I picked up some old back issues yesterday, says Tit Goblin. Captain Marvel 7 for the cover. A few War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds seems crazy 70s craziness.
Yeah, well, the Killraven series could afford to be crazy because they weren't connected to anything. So
yeah, I like that. Is that where I first discovered Craig Russell? Anyway, that I used to buy that. I think I don't think I ever bought a War of the Worlds off the newsstand. It may have been over by the time the late 70s rolled around. I don't remember. But I'd buy them around the neighborhood or wherever I would see them. And eventually I was filled in some issues I was missing like 20 years ago. So I always liked that Craig Russell stuff was always fun. And I'm keeping my Craig Russell comics that Neil Gaiman wrote. I just like looking at the pictures anyway. Oh, here's something I read this week that I showed a couple weeks ago that I got. A Gilbert Hernandez book. And this one, I'm sorry, I never know, especially with Gilbert, because Jaime's all published by Fantagraphics, but Gilbert is more prolific than Jaime, his brother, who he does Love and Rockets with. And Gilbert is also, this is a Dark Horse book, Dark Horse Originals, which of course means, which I didn't know at the time when I bought this, I wasn't sure if this was a reprint of stuff I may have had, because that's what they do with Love and Rockets, is all printed in the monthly book, and then they reprint it in trade paperbacks like other comics. But Gilbert also has lots of standalone graphic novels. I don't even know how many. And he does these, one of his characters, he hit all of his stuff, all of Gilbert's stuff is set in this fictional town of Palomar. which is a small Mexican border town. And one of his main characters is Fritzy. And I think she is an actress. And he's done like, I think 4 or 5 graphic novels. She did like Mexican B movies. She's not a big movie star. She's one of these Mexican B movie stars. These exploitation movies full of sex and violence. So he did 5 graphic novel adaptations of those movies over the years. And then so I got this one, and I'm not sure. I'm like, is this a graphic novel adaptation of it? And it says, and I think this is because you would think after all these years of reading Gilbert, I'd know all his characters, but I don't. And one of the lead characters in this book. The cops are coming to get us. This woman right here in the middle, who I think is Maria, but her name in this is Mrs. Paz. And it says, in the small Palomar-like town of Lagrimas, the town of tears. So I think Maria, who's got her own graphic novel somewhere, was either the mother or the grandmother of Fritz, who was also an actress, but we never saw her much. She was only spoken about until she got her own story arc. So I think this might be one of Maria's Mexican B movie, because it's very much a Mexican soap opera. Like I said, I don't really know much about Mexican soap operas, but there's sex and violence. Woohoo! Yeah.
Okay, so you remember the gasps in Spanish meme?
No.
Okay, so there's a GIF of a woman suddenly going, and there's with subtitles saying gasps in Spanish.
I don't remember that.
Okay, so that is traditional emoting in Mexican soap operas.
Okay. Gasps in Spanish. But the story is like Mrs. Paz here, and I think the story is it's such an ensemble, it's hard to say, because he throws so many characters into the pot. And there's always children going around being children and causing a little bit of chaos. So there's always like the drama going on between the children and the drama going on between the adults. And Mrs. Paz is an ex-teacher of some kind. She's, she must be in her 50s. She's not young anymore, but dudes still like her. She's still hot. And Loverboy is one of her former students, 20 years ago. And he's sleeping with her, and some other guy is sleeping with her, and she's just generally sad. There's this other young guy chasing after her, and the kids are going around, and I can't remember the name for it, but there's some literary thing when you see a gun in the first act, that means it's going to get fired in the third act. It's a literary trope. There's a name for it that I don't remember, but where is it? In the very beginning, somewhere here, the kids are talking. Chekhov's gun, is that it?
Yes.
Chekhov's gun. Well, in the very beginning here, the kids are talking about they know where the dynamite is stored in town. There we go. Eric P. just said that too. Chekhov's gun. They know where the dynamite is stored. They're like, "Ooh, should we steal some of the dynamite? I know where it's stored." And I was just like, "Uh-oh." And sure enough, at one point during the story, one of the little kids, I think her father is her father, I don't know if he's Loverboy or one of the guys also dating Mrs. Paz. And so the little girl has to stay with Mrs. Paz while her father or brother, I can't remember, just goes off on business. And so she becomes good friends with Mrs. Paz. But then when the boys come back, Mrs. Paz doesn't have as much time for the kid anymore. So she gets angry and jealous and decides to throw a stick of dynamite into Mrs. Paz's apartment. She doesn't mean to blow up the apartment. I don't think she actually lights it, but it goes off anyway and blows up. Other people get blamed. Like I said, there's so much plot and blame going around to different people who aren't. But as soon as I saw those kids knew where the dynamite was stored, I was like, oh no, Chekhov's gun. There's definitely going to be some dynamite exploding in this book. But he's such a good storyteller. I enjoy his stuff a lot. So I enjoyed this. And he's one of those. Gilbert's one of those guys whose work I can just pick up and read a few pages of and have a good time and then put it down. So that's what I enjoy about his work too. It's like I can just anytime I can just pull one. I don't even have to read the whole thing. I can just read a few pages of it, enjoy myself, and then put it back on the shelf because there's always something going on. They're despite the fact that there was Chekhov's gun in it, there's almost never a first act, second act, third act as normally in story. There's like things just happen. There's kind of a vague structure to the I guess the second act could have been the girl living with Mrs. Paz, but not really. So it's good stuff. Kit Goblin says it wouldn't be a Friday night without mistaking a Wilson siren for a Kit Goblin siren. He thought the cops were coming after him. Wilson with his window open in middle of January.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way the heat works in New York City, as we learned last week.
Oh, yeah. I have the window open and the fan on just to get it to a temperature that's comfortable.
That's why there was always, you'll always hear people talking about working in Manhattan. A lot of times you have to dress opposite of the seasons because in the summertime, some of these buildings are kept ice cold. So it's like when it's 96 degrees out in August, you have to wear a sweater at the office. And the same thing in the winter. They're so hot, the office, that you got to take all your layers off and strip down to your bottom layer in the wintertime in the office. So that's a real thing in New York.
Yeah. Marvel, I used to keep extra clothes because you just never know. It's like I got to put something on over what I was wearing.
We can get cold.
It got cold. It got cold enough that it's like I would have a sweater. I would be wearing that Dr. Doom's cape that I had in the office because it's gotten that cold. And it was also fun wearing a cape.
Want to show us one of the two comics you got?
Sure. So one of my regulars that I haven't been reading, but I've been picking it up, is Amazing Spider-Man. So this is issue number 65. Actually, no, there shouldn't be issue number 65. I think the title is called 65 Deaths. But let me find an indicia here somewhere.
It's not on the cover? Hidden?
Oh, that text is way too small. I'm going to guess this is issue 65.
You don't
it's just the way it's on there that's a little hard.
65.
So the indicia, this is why I can't read it.
Oh, yeah.
It's black on red. I mean,
red on black is not a
red
good.
On black.
That's the hardest type to read is red on black. Designers love it. Missing Mars says, always fun wearing a cape.
Oh, yeah.
So did you finish the last story arc of that?
No, I have not. I've been collecting comics. I've been gathering comics. I wouldn't call them collecting. I've been gathering comics and not reading them. And then, I went through my pool list and decided, am I going to really read this? Am I going to really read that? And then, so that was one of the ones that I kept. It's like, it's Spider-Man. I'll sit down, grab a bunch,
read it someday.
And read them. And I'll read them someday, hopefully.
What didn't make the cut? I remember you telling me.
Spider-Boy.
Spider-Boy didn't make the cut.
Spider-Boy didn't make the cut. That was replaced with GI Joe, which is
one of those
the-
licensed
which
comics,
was
right?
the other book that I ended up putting in its place. And I think I finally put Transformers onto the list.
Was it Thundercats? Which one was it that you didn't like?
No, I was still getting Thundercats, but it was
Okay.
I know it was Spider Boy that I removed. There was something that ended.
Right.
That was the other thing. There was a series that ended, and I added Batman, the newer series, that Absolute Batman.
Absolute, yeah.
Because so many people were talking about it. It's like, okay, let me
Yeah,
give
a
it
lot
a
of people
chance.
liked it.
Yeah, and
I've heard good things about it. Didn't
and
they
then
just come out with a
Lights-
new one? So far they've got Absolute Batman, Superman,
and
Wonder Woman. Was there a new one out this
If
week?
there was a new one, I wasn't even aware of it.
Maybe Wonder Woman came out last week. I can't remember. I think Wonder Woman is like the first issue of Absolute. I saw a first issue of Absolute something, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that one was an Absolute. Could have been Wonder Woman, but I don't know. Can't remember now.
As far as I'm aware of, there's those three. If there's another one that takes place in that particular universe, I do not know.
Mm-hmm. Eric P. asks, speaking of Spider-Man, anyone following the YouTube channel Every Spider-Man Ever? No, I haven't heard of that one.
If that person is on TikTok, I might be following him there.
Not for long.
Yeah. But I didn't know that they had a YouTube channel, so I would probably go check it out.
Yeah. They came out for Absolute Aquaman. Oh, okay, there we go. That's the one I must have seen. There's an Absolute Aquaman. That's the one I went, oh, I didn't know there was a Absolute of this.
I did not know they were even working on one. I thought they were just going to stick to those three and to see where that goes.
I guess they said we're adding another.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have the whole, they have to have the Absolute JLA.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they got to get everyone in there.
Yeah.
Who was in the original JLA besides those four? Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. Was the Atom?
Well, which era? Because the very first JLA didn't even have those guys. Because the very first JLA didn't even have Batman, Superman, and Iron Man. I mean Iron Man. It had the original had Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, not the Justice Society.
No. I'm talking about Justice League of America.
Right.
Was the Flash, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter. I think Green Arrow didn't appear until issue 4. I don't know who else off the top of my head.
Batman and Superman weren't there?
They were not there the first days.
Yeah.
No, it was like I said, it was maybe Wonder Woman was there on day one.
Wonder Woman was the Black Canary was an insert on the post-crisis retelling of the origin. Because Wonder Woman did not exist until Legends.
Who are the big seven now? Because I've heard that term, but the big seven in the JLA.
All right, so the big seven now would be Superman, Batman,
Woman,
Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern,
Flash,
and Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter is on I believe, is on every incarnation of the Justice League.
They were trying to insert Cyborg in there for some reason, but
I think they were doing that for TV in the movies so they could get a black character in. I'm pretty sure.
Well, just in that case, just use Jon Stewart as the Green Lantern.
I think they need more than a toga. I think that's why that he was kind of the, because I know they put him in some of the TV shows. I can't remember which TV show he was in with maybe it was the movie he was in the JLA.
He was
usually in the movies
in the
you
TV
need
show
more
as well.
diversity.
But he was there, way back in Super Friends. By the time Super Friends was ending, they brought in Cyborg into it. So Brave and the Bold cover that we all know with fighting Starro, the first Justice League of America, is Green Lantern, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, the Flash, and Martian Manhunter. and they're all fighting Stario,
Okay.
the Conqueror. Well, that's
So
who's on
add
the cover.
Batman and
least.
Superman to that, and we got the big 7.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. We got Absolute Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern start in March. They are definitely doing
Oh
the,
yeah.
the JLA, no
Yep.
doubt. Cyborg was tied to the Teen Titans, the cartoons, etc. But I think, yeah, he was always a Titan to me. But I think they moved him in. They may have moved him in the comics first. I don't remember because I wasn't reading them.
Like I
But
wasn't
I
aware
think
of
he was-
Cyborg until the end of the Super Friends cartoon. He was like one
When
of
was
the
that?
new characters. This is 78.
No, Cyborg
No,
wasn't
no.
around until.
No. I'm sorry. No. I'm mixing up dates on stuff. The Super Friends cartoon, when Cyborgs was introduced, was near the last season, and that was in the 80s. Probably
Okay.
84, 85.
Yeah, because Cyborg wasn't around until what, 1980?
Yeah,
80 or
the
81?
teen, yeah, it debuted in the New Teen Titans, so it was
The one I
1980.
just got the one I just got the facsimile of. DC Comics presents 26.
But I think they wanted to get rid of the fake characters, Black Vulcan, Samurai, and the Apache Chief
Right.
for the final season of when Super Friends became superpowers.
Yeah.
Speaking of facsimiles, I picked up Fantastic. This one came out last week, and I passed it by because I didn't know if I had one already, and I didn't. Fantastic Four #1 facsimile edition, and
I picked that up last week myself.
someone on here last week said he read they were doing all 12 of them. My LCS owner said, they're doing a second issue. He's like, I've never seen the second issue reprinted by itself. Said I don't think I have either. But what's weird about this is in the indicia, because I now know for sure there's a second issue, and someone said they're all 12, but it says published as a one-shot. I wonder why it says published as if they're going to do all 12 issues, are they all going to be published as one shots? I just wonder why that's in the indicia. I just happened to notice that.
Do all the facsimiles have that?
I don't know. It's the first time I've noticed it. Because I was looking to see if it was a first or second printing, if that had that in there. And it had published as a one-shot. I'm like, And the advertisements and offers contained in this previously published content have expired. But I have to say, this is the first time
because I would have wanted to order the GoBots.
First time I've read Fantastic Four #1 in quite a while. And after all that Jack Kirby history stuff I've been reading, there is no doubt this was originally intended as 2 separate stories in one of the monster books. Especially as the one thing that really stood out to me was there was a Thing revealed twice. In the first story, the Thing is out on his own, and he's in a trench coat. Then and he reveals himself. Dun dun dun! I'm really the Thing. And then in the second story, for absolutely no reason, he's at home in the trench coat again.
Yep.
So he's in the trench coat for no reason until there's many pages in. Page 20, we finally get the Thing reveal out of the trench coat.
Yeah.
So
there would, if it was always meant to be a Fantastic Four comic, there would be no reason to do that.
Yeah,
but you have 2 stories.
Yeah, this definitely was not meant for Fantastic Four #1 originally. It was definitely meant for Tales to Astonish or something too.
So is it that one story was rejected, and then the other story was made, and it's like now we got these?
No, I think they probably did 2 stories for Tales to Astonish, and then said, "Hey, let's do a superhero book."
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, and I'm not sure if they, you know that title limitation that everybody keeps talking about,
Right.
and nobody's really sure that it's real.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it is because of Fantastic Four #1, because Goodman might not have been able to distribute that title, but it did
Yeah.
anyway.
E-
So the
Either
two
way,
stories were done.
it was Goodman's decision
Mhm.
to have a Fantastic Four #1. But yeah, if they do all 12 issues, it'd be fun to have them in.
I think
I have
so.
to show
Yeah.
you something. I forgot to show you this because I just noticed it in Howl.
Issue #2 is the scroll story, and
Right.
it's set up in chapters, because some of the early superhero stories were done in chapters, even though it's actually just one story.
Let me see if I can show you this because it's small. In the issue of Howl, there's a sign back there that says Kirby Street or Kirby Close. Kirby Close. There we go.
That'll begin.
Where style begins. So
Nice.
the artist giving a little, our Belgian artist giving a little shout out to Jack Kirby in this. And I could swear his signature, Mo, which is probably short for Morrissey, looks like the same type that Wally Wood used to sign Wood.
It looks a lot like it. I'm sure there's probably an influence there.
Yeah. But yeah, Fantastic Four #1 for the low price of $4.99. Huh. I notice the things you notice when you're a production guy.
Uh-huh.
The logo overlapping, approved by the Comics Code, and you can see. Let me see if I can show you this. The red of the C comes through into the Comics Code. Whoops.
Yeah.
See that right there?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like that in the original. Probably not.
Let's check. Okay.
The Comics Code was probably over it, I would guess. But they put the logo over just a tiny bit.
No, in the original, the stamp covers the tip of the C.
Yep. In the facsimile, it does not.
Huh, this
Special
CGC
error edition. Whoa. It's going to be worth $1 million.
Yeah, the CGC edition that I'm looking at, it has it like it's just kissing the logo, but they're
Right.
not touching. Yeah.
There's no bit of red in the Comics Code.
Not at all. Where is the on that cover?
Next to the F.
Okay, so it's still in the same.
Oh man, they left
Wait.
the IND logo in there.
Yep.
And yet
Facsimile.
this issue that I'm seeing, this CGC issue, doesn't even have that on there.
Doesn't have the IND?
It does not. Huh.
Mm.
I wonder if this is an actual issue or this is itself a reprint.
Some kind of reprint.
Yeah, it says looks like 1961 issue.
Aha. Looks like?
Looks like. All right. It's the Golden Records reprint.
Ah.
So CGC says what it is.
Okay.
You can see it in the photo, but this person who's selling it on eBay as a Fantastic Four #1 CGC Hyde Gray 9.2 white pages, and it's that he writes into it looks like 1961 issue, and they want $2,399.99 for it.
Buy it now?
Buy it now, add it to cart, or make an offer.
They're
And-
looking for someone to act in haste, thinking they're getting a
Yes.
good deal.
Shipping is $49.99. What bull? If you're paying $2,399,
Yeah.
the seller should pay for the friggin' shipping. That irks me on eBay. As an eBay seller myself, it's like, you spent $200 on my items, I'm sending it to you for free. You know?
Which reminds me, I just saw.
Which my
Remember I
eBay
showed
store
you
is Ramos
this?
Comics.
I showed you this last week.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Masterverse card game with Radiant Black and Rogue Sun that I picked up. And this was the one that I kickstarted. And I think I've got some extra things. So I think like the base game cost around $25. But then like I said, I think on this Kickstarter, people use fulfillment centers to fulfill and ship things out. And they don't really know how much it's going to cost. So I ended up $25 plus $20 shipping to get this. Remember me complaining about it last year? Well, you can now buy this on eBay direct from the company for $25 with free shipping. I was just like, I don't blame anyone for it, but it's like, Kickstarter is just the most expensive way to buy things.
Yeah.
So if you want your own Masterverse set, go on eBay. You get it for $25. Free shipping. That'll never not annoy me. Let's see. Eric P. Dark Horse announced Rolf and Other Fantasy Stories hardcover by Richard Corbin in August. Collects 3 werewolf stories. Cool. I have to start reading my Richard Corbin hardcovers.
Odd choice, though. The werewolf stories?
I think those are the ones that haven't been published yet.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how much stuff from the Warren magazines hasn't been reprinted.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff they're going through. I mean, they got I got 4 of the books at Christmas time, and there's 1 more out already, and I think might be that one and maybe one other on pre-order. So they're getting them out pretty quickly. Keeping those people busy. So what was the other comic you got?
The other book that I picked up is G.I. Joe issue number 3.
Let's see. Oops.
And I believe this is part of the Energon universe. You can see the EU logo there. And I have to check to see if I picked up 1 and 2, or I just happened to put this on the list and figured I'll go back and look for 1 and 2.
You don't even know if you have 1 and 2?
Off the top of my head, I do not know if I have 1 and 2. I can't go by memory anymore.
I have a vague memory of you getting them, but I'm not sure either.
Right. So it's like I'm not positive.
I remember you not getting the Larry Hama ones.
Right. Not that there's anything wrong with the Larry Hama ones, but that's continuing a longer story.
Right.
That was it was interesting. I think I picked up one of them just to check it out because it was hitting that milestone number of
I picked up issue 300 just because.
Yeah. It was the Scott Koblish cover?
No, but it was one. It wasn't Scott Koblish cover, but it was similar. There was a lot of guys on it. But I picked it up. Yeah. I picked it up because, well, beside the fact that I just kind of wanted to pick up the only 2 issues of G.I. Joe I bought are number 1 and number 300.
Right.
I bought number 1 off the stands when it came out, and I bought number 300. So kind of made a nice bookend. But 300 was pretty good. It was decent. I gotta say.
The Larry Hama stuff I enjoyed. And the
Yeah.
last story that I recall that there was something going on where a virus or something gets let loose on Cobra Island. So it would have been a good time to actually jump on it because they were starting a new storyline right then and there.
That reminds me, my Roy, my LCS owner, was showing me he ordered I don't know what it's called, the hardcover collection of G.I. Joe that was kickstarted from Kirkman.
Mhm.
It's a complete, I think it's the complete series. It's in this big box that you open up sort of like a trunk. And inside are five hardcover editions. I mean, they're 3-4 inches thick a piece. And with the collecting all the GI Joe stuff from Marvel, all with gilded edges. I think the edges were done in red, white, and blue. Like one book had red, one book, well, maybe it was red and blue only. But you could also buy, he said, he got the GI Joe one. You could also get the one that came in the same books, but in a Cobra case.
Oh, that's actually pretty neat.
$350 for the set, but it was every GI Joe. I think all the Marvel. I don't know what else was in it. I think it was all the Marvel stuff. So that was like what 157 issues,
Somewhere like that. Yeah.
somewhere around that. And the Secret Cobra salute was in issue 119. I checked to make sure.
Excellent. Excellent.
But pretty neat set. I don't know for an outside of Kickstarter, but it was. If it is, you can probably get it for cheaper than that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. There is an issue of G.I. Joe Real American Hero number 21 coming in April. If you've never read it, highly recommend pick. Is that the silent issue? G.I. Joe 21? So. Oh,
It
no,
sounds
Real
like
American.
it.
The original one, which one was the silent issue with like snake eyes or something?
Yeah, that's 21.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's the
G.I.
one.
Joe Real American
the
Hero was
silent
the
issue.
full
Yeah.
title. Yeah.
That's the one I've heard a lot about, but never read.
Yep.
Comic Crack says there was a collection called Werewolf put out by Catalan back in 1984. They also did Wolf Underground's 1 volume of 3, I think. They're hard to find, I imagine. G.I. Joe 300 was a really good. Like I read G.I. Joe 300 not having read any G.I. Joe and enjoyed it. You're right, it was a good read. Strange to do werewolf ones. Would rather see a collection of his color underground work. Okay. There's the reissue. Let's see. I got G.I. Joe Real American Hero Compendium Box Set Joe Edition. Oh, so that's the one I was talking about. The huge, all of them. Hero box set, compendium box set. Yeah, it looked real nice. I mean, it was a brick of, it was, 10 bricks. It was big. One of the regulars poo-pooed it because it wasn't the issues. He prefers them as regular comic. Mm-hmm. The Massiverse. Let's see, what other comic do I got? Let's pull out the Skin Police. This is the one that reminds me of Blade Runner. Who's doing? Jordan Thomas is the writer. Daniel Heaty, Jason Wordy, and Jeff Powell, former bullpenner, is doing the letters on this. Letterer and logo designer. Good stuff. This is the one that's about, it reminds me of Blade Runner. It's about cloning takes place in Europe, I believe, right? Warning, you have been reported by Oni. And they perfected cloning. So people, especially people who couldn't have babies, got clone babies. Then they outlawed cloning. And then they found out 20 years later or something like that, or maybe 30 years later, that clones could all of a sudden turn violently crazy and start killing people. They call it popping because something happens to their brain where they just get violent and start killing people around them. So the skin police are like the clones are like the replicants, and the skin police are like the what were they called? The Blade Runners. I guess that was their name. That was their nickname. I forget what their actual name was. Who hunted down like the Blade Runners hunted down the replicants. The skin police hunt down the clones. Except they don't know they're clones, and there's no way to tell they're clones, unless without an autopsy. So if they kill someone who's and people and if you're a clone, you don't know it. So of course that messes with people's minds, and there are insecure people who are afraid they're clones, and it's the whole thing is a mess. And they passed a law saying that clones aren't humans, therefore making them not a crime for the skin police to kill them. So there's protests over this, and there's underground people helping the clones. And there's also going on in here is and this guy right here is like our head skin police guy. He's the best of the best, like Harrison Ford in Blade Runner. But he's catching on now to not everything they're telling him is truth. And there has been some medicine that can help the clones from popping or when they pop, but that's been suppressed. So the underground network of guys some of them are clones who are trying to use this medicine, and they're trying to recruit people to help them. So you're not really sure who you're rooting for here. The clones or the people keeping order. And then there was a big reveal about these two guys. I'll plug your ears if you're reading this book and haven't read this issue yet. You don't want to hear it. But it turns out this guy right here, who's going up against Harrison Ford, is a clone of him. So the leader of the
I wasn't reading that story, but I spotted that a mile away.
I actually did not spot it because most of the clones are anonymous. It's not like I want to clone Wilson and I now get a full-grown Wilson. You clone it as a baby. So there haven't been introduced anyone who's a clone of anyone in here yet. Because
so it's not a rapid aging process.
No.
When they
so
started.
That's why we got to figure out what happened in this, because but there was a little problem with the reveal of that. Here's the reveal where he shows first of all, half of the clone's face is messed up. And until I read it on the next page, I just didn't get it that these were supposed to have the same face, because they really don't.
Right.
Their faces are the hair is different, and there's you can only see it a little bit on the side. Oh, they have different eye color too. So until on the what is this? You can't be a dupe. No, yes, I'm you, literally, right down to the chromosomes. So until that, I didn't get it. The art really didn't give it away to me like it should have.
That looks like Cable and Strife facing off in the what was the crossover called?
I have no idea.
Executioner song,
yeah. Because they kind of look that face kind of looks like Josh Brolin.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Oh, and it's funny, they even Notice, I guess they didn't want to give it away on the cover because they even gave him some stubble and stuff on the cover, so he doesn't look so much like him, even with that mask.
What's with all the purple?
What was that?
What's with all the purple?
A lot of colorists like purple, I notice in comics. Purple's hard to work with.
Are they colorblind? Because they put purple in everything.
Not a lot of purple. Some purple, but not a lot. Some bluish purples in there. I've noticed colorists really like purple. I think purple is actually hard to work with as a color, especially digitally, to get it to print well. So I think they did a good job of it here. Like, there's only a few purples you can use that are predictable. I have noticed. It's always too dark, too light, too red, or too blue. But I think, was it Carl Bollers is editing this too, if memory serves. Carl, who we worked with at Marvel and I worked with at Bad Idea, is now working at Oni. Where are the credits again? Editor Carl Bollers. There we go. Oni Lion Forge Publishing Group. Oni Lion Forge Publishing Group. Okay. You read any comics lately, Paolo?
Not really. I don't even sure if I want to reread something.
What do you want to reread? What's on your reread list?
I should pick up The Invisibles.
I've never read that.
I want to read that thing closely.
Oh, you don't want to just read it? You want to read it closely?
Yeah, because if you follow Grant Morrison, if you follow Grant Morrison's career at DC, so he did something clever with Animal Man, and people liked it.
Yep.
Then he did Doom Patrol, and you can tell that he was trying to be smart. There's a lot of name dropping in Doom Patrol, talking about things that nobody's heard of.
Yeah,
but he has. He's smarter than. Not that the stories aren't bad, but you can. But
I remember I read some of that and enjoyed it. Animal Man, not so much.
Well, no, Animal Man reads better.
In all fairness, I read one issue of Animal Man, and it was the issue that he wrote himself into and said, "Why are you reading this stupid shit? You shouldn't even bother. I can't understand why anybody would read this."
And that's it. Yeah, that's at the end of the
run. I put it down and never picked up another issue of Animal Man.
Yeah, but that's at the end of the run. Grant Morrison does more after that. Doom Patrol. Yeah, the stories aren't bad, but the thing is, the name dropping gets annoying after a while. And then there's The Invisibles, and The Invisibles was supposed to be Morrison's magnum opus at the time. He put a lot of work into it, and there's a lot of stuff in there that most people can't tell, and even I can't tell. But you can tell that there's supposed to be something there.
Is that the one that they say the Matrix ripped off?
Yeah. Well, I don't see it. I don't see it. I think the problem is that Morrison once said that he was negotiating with the BBC to do a TV series based on it, and they didn't understand what it was about.
I have never read The Invisibles, but once, probably in the late 90s, our friend Bunch walked up to me and said, "If I ever catch you reading The Invisibles, I'm going to punch you in the face."
I remember getting them in our bundles, but
I don't think he liked it very much.
I don't think I read it. I remember getting them, but I don't remember a thing about them except for the cool logo and that kind of a inverted characters within the logo or something like that was interesting graphically, but I don't remember an issue at all.
There's a character in the Invisibles who is based directly on Peter Wingard.
Have you read Transmetropolitan?
Oh yeah, everything.
Okay, did you like that one?
Yeah, that was amazing.
That's one I only read one issue of and always wanted to go back. And I wasn't particularly fond of the issue, but I liked. I don't know what years that came out. I grew to like Warren Ellis's work once he started doing Stormwatch, I think it was. So I think like Transmetropolitan was before Stormwatch.
Yeah, kind of around the same time.
Yeah, around the same time, maybe. But I think, but it's like I don't think I was reading Stormwatch by him because I started reading Stormwatch when I heard he was on it, but I hadn't read. Like I said, I only read one issue of Transmetropolitan. At the time, it was a little too smarmy for me. But
but it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I know. But I was a lot smarmier, so I didn't need extra smarminess. So I actually want to go back and read that one of these days. And they just put out a compendium of Stormwatch too, of the Warren Ellis Stormwatch. That's a good read if you've never read it.
Yeah, I bought the original trade. So when they did the one which has Wildcats aliens inside, it's now a rarity.
Yeah.
Because
I managed to get those issues years later. Because I was buying Stormwatch at the time, and I can remember it was in between Stormwatch volumes 1 and 2 that Stormwatch ended, and then I picked up issue 1 of Stormwatch volume 2, and everybody was dead. And it was like, what? And they're like, see, Wildcats aliens. I'm like, see Wildcats aliens? See where? Couldn't find it anywhere because nobody bought it. Nobody knew.
Yeah, I think Wizard ended up making a big deal of it after the fact.
Yeah.
So by the time the people who read Wizard went after Wildcats aliens, it was no longer available in the stores.
Never. And I think I remember even seeing Wildcats aliens on the shelf, but there was no reason for me to buy it.
Yeah, I think the cover wasn't that much of a. It didn't really call to you.
Yeah,
and it's that thing that you hate, a prestige format book.
Right, prestige format book, and it's a licensed book. And I think I'd stopped buying Wildcats by that time. I can't remember the time frame, year that came, but was the first volume of Wildcats canceled by then? It may have been.
May have been, yeah. I'm really not sure.
I think I had, if I was a regular, I think if I was a regular Wildcats purchaser, I may have got Wildcats aliens. But I don't even think I was at that time because I bought Wildcats all through the Alan Moore run, and I think a little after, which I think was well before that. But that I want to reread that Alan Moore Wildcat stuff. I haven't read that in a long. That's some pretty good stuff. I always enjoyed that. Tao was one of my favorite villains. I'm glad they brought him over to what was it? That Brubaker Phillips book, Sleeper.
Sleeper, yeah.
That was good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The villain who could talk you into stuff. And you'd think it was your idea.
On Transmetropolitan, it's the world building is very, very good.
Oh, okay.
They keep throwing. Ellis keeps throwing things at you, but you never question it. You accept it as part of that whatever future that is. think everybody's nuts because everybody can have everything, pretty much. I mean, you need money to buy stuff, but they're they're well on the way to becoming a post-scarcity society, but they can't abandon consumerism. And this is at the time nobody was online, but people do everything online,
right?
Which is not something that you were used to. You didn't really foresee. I guess Ellis foresaw, but he was, because Warren was one of the first creators to be on the internet.
Yeah. If you were on the internet in those days, that meant you were on bulletin boards and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Creating your own social groups.
Yeah, and Ellis was one of the created his own message board before Mark Miller, before Bendis.
Wisely, Transmet collected the first 3 issues in a $10 trade. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I started buying Transmet from number 13, and I had to buy 1 to 12 in the trades. But the first trade was 3 issues, and the second was 9. And the rest of the rest of the series was all in 6-issue arcs.
Ellis had a famous forum on Delphi, which I was on. And a few years ago, he got in trouble for some of his asshole behavior on those forums. He wasn't accused of anything criminal, just being a jerk to women. 62 Lefty Blues said, I recently read the Transmetropolitan Trade Volume 1. It felt a little dated.
Yeah, well, you know how it is when you read stuff that is set in the future. Yeah. And then you live in the future, and the future is not like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Skynet takes over the world in 1997. You know that?
Yep. 62 Lefty. Ellis looks like a saint compared to Neil. Yeah, man. Woo. What's going on with him is nuts.
Yeah.
Why is it nuts? I thought everybody knew that he was nuts.
No, not everybody knew he was that nuts. Daisy certainly knew. He told us that.
But it's been over 10 years since we've known that Neil Gaiman is a Scientologist.
Yeah.
So we knew he was nuts. It was just a matter of time until they caught him doing something compromising.
He was a Scientologist?
He is a Scientologist.
I didn't even know that. See, I'm such an unfan of Gaiman. I know nothing about him.
There was this list of famous Scientologists that was running around because of the time that 4chan declared war on the Church of Scientology. Because once they post before everybody put everything up on YouTube, somebody from 4chan uploaded a recruitment video with Tom Cruise, and they were making fun of it. And the Church of Scientology forced YouTube to take it down. And the people in 4chan did not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they dedicated the combined power of internet autism. and they started doing black faxes. 'Cause you pick up a sheet where everything is black ink, and you faxed it, and it would run out of toner. Then they started compiling info. Then they decided to declare war on them, and a bunch of people protested around church near their closest church of Scientology.
Yeah. I remember
that. But they were just singing memes.
Right.
There was a video of a guy put on a Rick Astley mask. and And he rickrolled the guard at the guard at the front of the Church of the Scientology. A live rickroll. And then they posted everything online. You used to be able to see all that in Encyclopedia Dramatica. And then there was a list of all the crazy people who were Scientologists, and Neil Gaiman was there. And this was what, 2001 or 2? When was that? Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah.
P says Ellis was a jerk to most people. Yeah. So as for Transmet being dated, it's basically a 25-year-old book. Yeah. And I'm not going to defend Warren Ellis because he said he doesn't want people to defend him, but he's trying not to be a jerk and to make him.
If you see, if a British person is a jerk to you, you be a jerk back. It means that you understand the language he speaks. There. If he calls you a tosser, you call him a cunt. That's it.
Yeah. Let's see. Another issue I got from the creator of Stray Dogs is Feral. This is the one that's the cat zombie story. Where, let me show you some of this fun artwork of where a huge rabies outbreak hits. And the humans are all rounding up all the animals to check them out or, put them to death if they have rabies. And it's the story. We started with like 3 house cats who somehow escaped and are now out in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. The animal zombie apocalypse, because it's rabies. And they get picked up by some cat woman who, this crazy old cat lady she's been collecting all these cats, half of them rabid, and she's been keeping them all in her house. But meanwhile, she's got, I don't know if it's rabies or they've got the definite toxoplasmosis. They've actually got the definition of toxoplasmosis here.
Yep. What causes crazy cat ladies.
Yeah. Parasite that infects felines and rodents and can be passed to humans through contact with the cat species. So she may have had that.
Yeah.
But of course, they're just trying to survive. Like I said,
you really need a lot of close contact with a lot of cats. You usually don't get it just because you have a cat, even if the cat's infected.
She's got a lot of cats.
Yeah. That will give you toxoplasmosis.
The main problem I have with this, even though they're completely distinctive, my brain has a hard time telling the cats apart. Maybe it's just because I've never had a cat. I'm not a cat person. And they're all, like I said, they're all distinctive. They all have distinctive markings and distinctive colors, but I have to really pay attention to know which cat it is.
So what are you saying, Jared, that all cats look alike?
Even when they don't. I mean, these cats do not look alike. But in my brain, I'm like, which cat is that? This cat's got orange on that side and blue. I don't know what it is. But by the writer is Tony Fleece. The art is by Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez. Color by Brad Simpson. No letterer listed, so maybe the artist does the lettering. But this is also the one that I think it was somebody on here told me that Trish Forstner draws all the cats and Tone Rodriguez draws all the other stuff. So it's like those stairs there are Tone Rodriguez. These cats, let me get it bigger so I can show you. I mean, you can hardly, it's integrated really well. But like those stairs right there would probably be Tone Rodriguez and the cats would be Trish Forstner.
Yeah, because of that, it kind of gives it a animation look to it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I don't know who does the speed lines. Would it be Trish or Tone? I think that would be Tone. I think he'd do the speed lines. He's probably drawing the lady too, I would guess. But she's not in that animated style, kind of like the cats are. But it's a good book. It's a lot of fun. And in the back, you get pictures of cats, keyboard cats. I'm guessing people send in their cat pictures.
That's a meme, the keyboard cat.
Ah, okay. They're the cats that sit on your keyboard when you try to write.
No, there's a short video which is also very old of somebody holding the cat's paws and making him play on the piano. But then you overdub a piece of classical music.
Ah,
on top.
okay.
Yeah.
Then it eventually became a meme of, oh, you're starting an argument on the internet, and all you see is a cat smacking the keyboards, and it's like these are who you're arguing with.
Ah,
Mhm.
keyboard cats. Want to do a read, rip, and slab?
Sure.
Let's do one of those.
Let's do
Pick
it.
a decade. Paolo, pick a decade.
Well, since early on somebody mentioned that War of the Worlds was crazy in the 70s, let's go to the 70s.
All right. Let's see what we got. Which 70s? Let's go 1972 September.
I was 1 year old.
Uh-huh. Let's see here. Present, share screen. Window, there we go. We got some mystery books. Journey into Mystery, House of Mystery, and Ghostly Haunts.
Of mystery.
Of Mystery. Marvel 10th anniversary cover.
Mm-hmm. Is that a General
Gil
Romita?
Kane and Tom Palmer, Nick Cardy, and Joe Staten.
Oh, that Journey into Mystery has original stories.
Yeah, Ghostly Haunts is all new.
Because a few of the 70s horror books, most of them are reprints.
So we got Eric P's birth month.
All right. Because most of the Marvel's horror comics from the 70s are reprints. But a few of them have original stories. There's about 600 pages of original stories from the period, I think. If you count the magazines in the horror genre without a main character. Or a featured character, that is.
What does that say?
I was slab.
A Tale of Mounting Menace by Robert Bloch, author of Psycho.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Actually,
That change your thinking, Wilson? You were about to make your choice, but now that you know that the author of Psycho has written one of the stories in Journey into Mystery.
I don't believe it does. I think it actually enhanced, because my plan was to slab Journey into Mystery, because I think that's the better cover visually, because it looks like Gil Kane doing John Romita Sr. I'm going to read Ghastly Haunts because it's all new stories.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that means I will dare to rip up House of Mystery. Straight down the center and rip the Green Reaper in half.
Cemetery. No one dies today.
Their clothes. Dun, dun, dun. So I guess that may be an uplifting issue, because they're not planning to kill anybody in that issue.
Well, let's see what Tit Goblin's going to do. He's going to read Ghostly, rip Mystery, and slab Mystery. Well, which Dolphin, the city ghost giant. So the ghost is going to turn into a dolphin.
I'm going to read Journey into Mystery, rip the House of Mystery, and slab Ghostly Haunts. I like that cover. It could work as a poster.
Yeah.
Also, Is that the guy who drew He-Man? Who did that? Joe Staten, who did that cover?
Yes, he drew E-Man. Yeah, amongst other, he drew Green Lantern for a while.
Tom Palmer makes Gil Kane not look like Gil Kane.
Let's see what Eric P. is going to do. He's going to read Journey into Mystery, rip House of Mystery, and slab Ghostly Haunts. Well, since everybody is ripping House of Mystery, I want to read it now.
Yeah, I was going to say, everyone's going after the House of Mystery.
So that's going to, I'm going to be the only one who read it and have no one to talk about it with. So I'm going to read House of Mystery.
I'm going to Dolphin.
Slab Journey into Mystery, because I like to collect those Marvel 10th Anniversary covers, which means I'm going to have to rip up Ghostly Haunts right between those two characters so they can each have their own cover when I'm done.
I'm going to Dolphin, Jack the Ripper, in Journey into Mystery. It's going to be a ghostly Dolphin the Ripper holding a knife with his flipper.
I'm going to Dolphin Death, because Death is obviously too scary for the kids. So there'll be a dolphin saying, "Close, no one dies today," and everybody will be happy. They'll be like, "Yay, the dolphin is making sure we all live." It won't be Death pulling a trick on us.
I was thinking the same thing of replacing the Grim Reaper with the dolphin and adding the flamingos on there too. To be on the other side of the kids.
I think I'm going to put the flamingos on the guy's head in Ghostly Haunts, because they're seeing what he's seeing and they just don't care.
I'm going to have the flamingos run along with the crowd in Journey into Mystery. They'll be like, "Why are we running?" "I don't know. Just keep running. Don't stop now."
Is it the giant ghost? I don't know. It's something.
Listen, when a crowd of people is running one way, you run with them.
Yep.
I don't care if you're a flamingo. Keep going.
Yeah, because I thought that the flamingos could also work on top of the cemetery sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you kids scared? It's just that.
Boo! Death is scary. Boo! You could also, if you were thinking about design, you could put one flamingo on top of the M in front of the DC and the other flamingo on top of the Y on 20 cents and have a nice flamingo design element going on.
You know, those kids show up in a lot of DC horror covers.
Oh, yeah. Eric P. says Dolphin the Candle on the cover of Ghostly Haunts. Yeah.
Are you saying they're the same kids?
Well, not really, but there's always a pair of kids.
Oh, okay. Because I thought they might have been like a set of kids that always ends up running into
there might be some lore behind them.
Like, oh,
we'll have to make up the lore. We'll have to look on all the covers, find the kids, and make up the lore that's behind them.
Yeah, because if it's the same kids, that'll be great. Don't get in trouble. Oh, we always run into the cemetery.
Or to the haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of Joe Staten covers. I don't think we ever see Joe Staten covers.
Only on E-Man.
Only on E-Man, because he must have drawn some of the covers on
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
I don't think. I think most of the covers were by other artists.
Yeah,
there's
That's
a lot
weird.
of
Until I just looked at that, I was like, I don't think I'm used to seeing any Joe Staten. Sleepy's here. He's going to read House, Slab Journey, and rip Ghostly. He's on the same page I am. And Eric P. says the flamingos, of course, have to be in the brightest pink possible to show up on the House of Mystery cover. We might have to go fifth color on that. Get a Pantone pink.
Ooh, we have to emboss the flamingos.
Oh, paying for another color. So I did a quick search, and 13 covers by 13 Dimensions website has Secret Origins of Superheroes, issue number 17.
These are Joe Staton covers?
These are Joe Staton covers. We have Showcase Presents Power Girl, issue number 97. The first edition of E-Man,
right,
is a Joe Staton cover. Green Lantern 155.
Only
Green
one
Lantern's,
Green Lantern cover?
How's that?
Only one Green Lantern cover?
No. Well, it just lists like they pick 13 covers.
Oh, they pick 13 good covers.
They pick 13 covers for their
okay.
website. Yeah.
So these are all good covers by Joe Staton. Gotcha.
Right. So there's another Green Lantern. It was actually the Green Lantern Corps 208, which is wild because that one looks very cartoony, almost like it was done in crayon.
Huh.
E-Man issue number 2. Green Lantern issue 195.
Okay, so we did.
Justice Society. All-Star Comics Justice Society.
So we
74.
did some good covers. We just have never seen them.
Yep.
What's the name of the site again?
This site is 13 Dimensions. And it has 13 covers for Joe Staton. I think this was celebrating his birthday.
Okay. See, Tit Goblin says the green sweater makes everyone run to death. It's like those ballet shoes that make you a great dancer, but you can't stop. Was that a Twilight Zone or something like that?
I think so. I tried to link it, but it wouldn't let me. It says it failed to post.
Sleepy Reader says Mike's amazing. It shows 333 covers by Staton. Wow, it's amazing that none of them come to mind.
Like, I'm looking at them, it's like I remember a couple of them because he did the cover to Millennium, the DC story, and it's like I bought that issue, but I wouldn't be able to tell you that was his cover off just looking at it.
Eric P says, I have to say that Ghostly Haunts has the best fonts on any of the covers. Well, it certainly has the most fonts of any of the covers. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot. Let's see. Let's count how many fonts they got. Echoes. Above Ghostly Haunts, it's got 2 different fonts. Ghostly Haunts is its own font. That's 2. All New is 3. Comics Code is 4. 5 in No Way Out. 6 in Above No Way Out. And you can count the rest of the trade dress as 7. You rarely see a comic with that many different type styles on it. All the women on the covers are wearing green tops. It was Green Top Month. Hey, as long as the logo wasn't green, everything was good. Let's see. Titcom says, I bet there are cases of cartoonist files having the same morgue file cutting of magazine files and stuff that all showed up in slightly different books. I'm thinking Playboy was a big figure reference. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, illustrators and cartoonists had what they called their morgue, which was a collection, which is how we did things before Google Images. You had to tear things out of magazines and collect images, and you'd arrange them in what you called your morgue for some reason. I don't know why. And if you needed a picture of a helicopter, you'd go over there to your helicopter section and get it. And there were probably, people tearing out ads using the same reference at times.
And you would trace them because you had no time to waste.
Yes. You'd use your Lucy machine, which was an overhead opaque projector. So you'd put the picture in the Lucy machine, and then you could kind of make it bigger and smaller by moving the lens. And it would project it onto the paper. You'd draw right there. All right, let me show you one last comic I got, which is Space Usagi. White Star Rising, 3 of 3. This is the one that came out in the early 90s in black and white. So they're just having them all colored and re-releasing them. I assume to make some money so they can print them out as collected editions. I think there was only around 9 or 10 issues of Space Usagi. I think this might be the last one, but I have to check because I think 3 series have come out. But it's pretty much just like Usagi, except sci-fi in space. And you know what? I realized before that when we were talking about setting the scene, artists who are good at setting the scene, I think one of the reasons I like regular Usagi better than Space Usagi is because I think Stan Sakai is better at setting the scene in, feudal Japan than he is in sci-fi. Not that he's bad at it in sci-fi or anything, but this is feudal Japan influence. But I just think that his feudal Japan is better scene setting because the stories aren't really that much different. But this really doesn't say futuristic spaceship. It really says more like Stan Sakai drawing a spaceship, while like his feudal Japan stuff seems more like feudal Japan. Wilson's given us definitions. Morgue file, the term is popular in the newspaper business to describe the file that holds past issue flats. The term has also been used by illustrators and comic book artists, according to Wikipedia. Yes. Titcom, Jared, the 2012 Ninja Turtle TV show in the last season had a good 3-part episode of Usagi written by Stan. Ooh, cool. Cool. Dun, 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 dun. I'm glad he hooked up with those turtle guys and got Usagi kind of mainstream. Because that's the reason people other than me know about Usagi is the turtles.
Yeah, I think I was introduced to him through the turtles first.
Yeah.
That it was a character. It's like, it was, yeah.
By a factor of 10, at least. Because, like, how big do you think Usagi Yojimbo's circulation ever was?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
20,000?
I wouldn't even know those numbers. That wasn't really something I kept an eye out or were how much things sold in general.
Let's just say there are 50,000 Usagi Yojimbo fans over the years, cumulative. You want to get real generous? 100,000. How many were made by that cartoon? Like 10 times a million? 10 million?
Yeah.
So it's like multiple factor. Savage Dragon. Well, Savage Dragon at the beginning had a huge level of circulation. Now it doesn't. But and Usagi Yojimbo. I was just trying to figure out how many. I would guess it's closer to like 40,000 Usagi Yojimbo fan. I mean, I don't even know if a single issue has ever sold 40,000, but counting lapsed fans and people who know Usagi from the comic, maybe 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more people know him from the Turtle. Didn't they just recently come out with a Turtles Usagi comic? Like from the cartoon Turtles? I think they did that recently.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I can't. I think you had like a previews with it in it.
That's probably the IDW preview then.
Yeah. Dragon has also hooked up with the Turtles to spike numbers. Yeah, why not? Usagi feels like it is a book that should have gotten into junior high school libraries. Yes. I hope it would. I hope it wouldn't be too violent for junior high schools because there's occasional violence in it. I mean, those little death heads floating. I always like those little skulls he had floating up. I don't know if that's too much for some school districts in Florida.
No, it's a cartoon death. That's different.
That's different. Cartoon deaths are nothing. There's no blood. It's in black and white. Oh, it's in color now. Well, but that is probably the reason they want to put a lot of it out in color, is to get it into more libraries.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm. Terry Moore was talking about his books in color, saying it'll never happen because it's too much work. He's just one guy, and oh, by the way, have you guys ever used Humble Bundle?
I heard of it, but I never ordered from them.
All it is you go to humblebundle.com, and they bundle together a bunch of comics, the digital versions, they're usually PDFs, that you can buy, and you can kind of pay anything. Usually there's a minimum, like you pay $10 and you get 4 collected editions of something. But right now, for charity, Terry Moore is offering a Humble Bundle, where for $20 you basically get the digital version of everything he's ever done. It's kind of a really good deal, because it's like all the Strangers in Paradise, all of Rachel Ryan. There's 25 books there for $20. I think he's doing it all for charity, but the Humble Bundle, a lot is for charity, but they actually have really good deal. If you like digital comics, it's a good place to get stuff.
There's a Humble Bundle here for a lot of European graphic novels. It's got all the Incal and the Meta Barons and all of the stuff from the Incalverse. There's a few other things here. So there's I Am Legion, and there's Manara stuff.
Yeah, they've been around for a good while now.
Robert Silverberg's Colonies. Wow. Sapiens Imperium. Really? That's available in English? Sapiens Imperium. The artist is Portuguese. But this came out in France. Oh, Fourth Power by Juan Jimenez. That's nice. Have that in Portuguese.
Tit Goblin said, "Did anyone's Copics show up yet?" They said in the ad that they're not shipping them out till late February, when the promotion ends. So I don't think anyone's have shown up yet. I like the second you sign up for one marker, they aggressively try and sell you 5,000 Copics. I think I opted out of that. I'm not sure. I've opted out of so many emails lately. I want to try the new Pantone markers, but they're expensive. I don't know if you've seen them.
I have not.
There's some other brand putting out Pantone markers. So they probably just licensed the Pantone name. But I like to try out all new markers. Yeah, but I might get that Humble Bundle just because. I've got a lot of his stuff already digital, but I'll have it all in one place.
It's a good price for that size of a catalog.
Yeah, it is. And the only thing I remember being annoying about Humble Bundle, which I haven't done in a few years, is it's like I had to download everything individually. And when you buy like a bundle like that, which I did, of like 25 things, it's like click, download, and you can only download a few things at a time before it clogs up. So it's like, it took a while to download everything. There wasn't one big zip file for it. I'll just check out that European Humble Bundle.
Mm-hmm. Is the website just called Humble Bundle?
Yes. It's been like I said, it's been around for a while now, and they're not only comics, they're books, they're video games, they're all sorts of stuff. Anything they can bundle together and sell you. Digital stuff that is. And I think they also say it's all non-DRM PDFs, so easy to read. Is there a different Humble Bundle Europe, Paolo, than there a different site?
No.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't matter since it's all digital.
It's digital, yeah.
It's not like they got to deliver you something. And how are you feeling this week, Paolo? Is your cold or flu all gone?
Oh yeah, just I still cough every once in a while, but that's it.
But that's it. That's good. Oh, let me show you. Speaking of markers, I have to show this to. These are. I bought these last year sometime. The Artfinity markers that I wanted to try because they were fairly cheap from Jerry's Artorama, and you could buy refills for them. So like the marker was like $4 and the refill was $4. I bought like I don't know, 40 markers at first. So I decided to spend. They had this case for them too. That was. I think I spent $20 on the case, but I was like, you know what? I'm already spending $150 on markers. May as well get a nice case to put them in. And the case actually is pretty nice. It's got this nice little magnetic enclosure. The problem is inside, the part that holds the markers is just cardboard. And I've had them in there for the last year, but what happens is you put the markers back and the cardboard breaks. If you don't hit it just right, you end up with broken cardboard. And that's just so annoying.
Yeah, that's not a good design at all.
Terrible design. So I went and got like a $7 plastic marker holder and have them in that now. Especially since if you look, here's the marker. Here's the case. So you got all this space up here to traverse down to make it all. And as you know, when you're putting them, you're just going like that.
Yeah.
So you got all this. You miss 1 out of 10 times easily.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can't use my $20 case anymore unless I cut myself some of these new. Or figure out some way to 3D print. My friend can actually 3D print them if I can make 3D models of them, but I don't know how to do that. I'll have to figure it out. Because I like the case. It's just so poorly designed inside. I mean, look at that. Nice logo on it. Nice magnetic flap. But didn't last me. And I was patient with it, too. I should have abandoned it 3 months ago. But since we're talking markers, I figured I'd show you that. Oh, here's the next thing I want to work on. One of these, I want to figure out which markers are the least light fast. Like there's one I've got a purple one that fades to magenta in like a matter of months. But because markers do their best, at least the high-end markers do their best to stop from fading away. Lower ends, not so much. But and I've been, I think it was what's her name? A Distant Soil. Oh, I can't remember the artist's name. Ooh. That's a lot of my-
Amanda
you know
Connor.
her.
No, not Amanda
Nope.
Connor.
Distant
It is Distant Soil is
Colleen Duran. There we go.
Colleen. Yeah.
Colleen Duran. She's always saying, you know, artists don't, you know, if you, because she's at conventions doing sketches and things. Let's just like use some watercolors, especially for high end stuff. Markers will fade over time. She was showing some stuff that was made in the 70s, especially with Dr. Martin's dyes, is all faded. Like some of the Barry Windsor Smith stuff that he colored with Dr. Martin's dyes is all fading away. So I was like, "Ooh, that would be a good idea for a project. Find the markers that are fade away quickest, do a drawing out of them, and document it fading away. It'll be part of the drawing. The superhero will be the Invisible Woman. You know, she
Yeah.
fades away." So I was like, "Ooh, that could be interesting." So now I have to find the least stable marker colors.
You know, you just missed out on a great opportunity to do like 250 sketch cards in a row with the Invisible Woman.
That Colleen Duran. Yep, Eric P's got it too. Which isn't. I tried reading. I read some Distant Soil back when I was in high school. Thought it was okay. I tried rereading some of it, like in a collection, like 20 years ago. I could not make it through it. The art's nice, but I'm just like the writing. I just could not make it through. I don't remember why, but well, we should wrap it up for the night. Let Paolo get to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Drop some confetti.
There we go.
Do it.
Drop some balloons. Get some lasers. All right, we are good. We are good for the evening.
Excellent.
All right. Hope everybody had a good time. We had fun talking to y'all and each other.
It's always a blast. Yep.
And everybody have a good week out there. We'll
Bye-bye.
catch you next
Take
time.
care.